Selam arkadaşlar, merhaba. Üçüncü saatimiz hoş geldiniz. Bu ilk haftanın konularımıza devam edelim dersimize. And now I want to talk about the Hittites and ancient Anatolia, okay? Anatolia, also called Asia Minor, at the crossroads of Asia and Europe, has been the home of numerous people during the prehistoric ages, with well-known Neolithic settlements such as Çatalhöyük, Çayönü, Hacılar, to name a few. Okay? The settlement of legendary Troy also starts in the Neolithic period and continues forward into the Iron Age. Anatolia offered a mild climate with reliable and regular rainfall necessary for a regular agricultural production. Besides the timber and stone essential for construction, but deficient in Mesopotamia, Anatolia had rich mines, which provided copper, silver, iron, and gold. Since the peninsula is a land bridge between Asia and Europe, as well as the Mediterranean and the Black Sea, trade to and from the region also had been important since the prehistoric times. All the above particularities made Anatolia very attractive for the peoples of other regions. Anatolia functioned as a bridge connecting the West with the great empires of the East. When migrating groups passed over this bridge, some of their people often remained and settled, as had occurred when the Hittites entered Anatolia. The newcomers generally adapted themselves to existing cultural patterns, and the geography of the country gave rise to the growth of a great number of small local cultures in history. Among the peoples who have permanently settled in certain regions or occupied temporarily are Trojans, Thracians, Phrygians, Lydians, Cimmerians, Persians, Greeks, Macedonians, Lycians, Adrians, the so-called Sea peoples, Jews, Romans, etc. The most enduring settlement and culture was that of the Hittites, starting about 1800 BC and lasting more than 1,000 years. Before the Hittites, Central Anatolia, or Hette land, was inhabited by the Hettians between the 3rd and 2nd millennia BC. Okay? Their center was Hattushash in Boğazköy near Yozgat, which will also be the capital city of the Hittite kingdoms. Hettians are the people of Hittites, okay, and Hittitliler. Hettians spoke a language related to the Northwest Caucasian language group, eventually merged with the Hittites, who spoke the Indo-European Hittite language. In the East and Southeast Anatolia, one of the earliest state buildings were the Hurrians, entering the scene toward the end of the 3rd millennium BC. Hurrians occupied large sections of eastern Anatolia and later the Cilicia region, which is from Alanya to Mersin, including the Taurus Mountains, and had a strong influence on the Hittite culture, language, and mythology. However, the Hurrians lost all political and cultural identity by the last part of the 2nd millennium BC. The Hittite Empire. Let's begin. Entering into history from yet unknown origins, the Hittites will rule a great empire that stretched from Anatolia to Syria and Palestine. Their invasion will bring the end of the old Babylonian Empire in Mesopotamia. With such a close contact with Mesopotamia, The Hittites will also adopt certain laws, customs, and literature of the old Babylonians, thus continuing the long heritage of Sumerian culture. Fair trading with all the civilizations and people of the Mediterranean helped the transmission of Mesopotamian through law, political structure, economic structure, and ideas around the Eastern Mediterranean region. The two main periods of Hittite history are customarily referred to as the Old Kingdom, between 1700 and 1500 BC, and the New Kingdom or New Empire between 1400 and 1200 BC. The less well-documented interlude of about 100 years between the Old and New Kingdom is sometimes referred to as the Middle Kingdom. The empire was at its greatest from 1400 to 1200 BC. After this period, the Hittite cities and territories continued to exist until 717 BC and were finally conquered by the others. In brief, it may be said that the phase from 2000 to 700 in BC in Anatolia was marked by the Hittites and may justly be called the Hittite period. In the Hittite records, a prince with name Anitta is considered the traditional founder of the Hittite dynasty, but it took some more time to establish an organized state, which was later to be established by Hattusili I, who built the town Hattushash, which is at Boğazköy in Çorum. The foundation of the Hittite state may be considered as the earliest regular and steady organization in Anatolia. The main center was Hattushash, which has become later the capital of Hittites for over the centuries. Particularly concerning the Hittite rule, which is also observed in other empires of the Near East, is about the administration of the territory. The land is considered to belong to the king or the state, and these districts are left to the administrators in return for their contribution in taxes and obligations to provide soldiers to the central administration. During the reign of King Telepenus, the reforms further reinforced the power of the central state and the concept of justice. Among them was the foundation of a high court called Pancus, which had a power even to judge the king himself. In the Edict of Telepenus, in his program of political reforms, citing examples of the political evils that had resulted in the past from aristocratic disunity at the death of a monarch, he laid down a precise law of succession, specifying an exact order of precedence to be observed in the selection of a new ruler. He further prescribed that the nobles must again stand united in loyalty to the throne, and if they are dissatisfied with the conduct of the king or one of his sons, they must have recourse to legal means. The Supreme Court for punishment of wrongdoers was the Pancus. The meaning of the word Pancus has been much discussed. It has been taken to mean a general assembly composed of the fighting men and servants of the king. Maybe it was like something divan or the Ottoman court. Well, towards the end of the Old Kingdom, Hittites made successful campaigns against Aleppo in Syria and marched towards Babylon and put an end to Hammurabi dynasty. During the 14th century BC, a brief decline period began in Anatolia, and most of the territories captured and conquered earlier were lost. This period of weakness, foreign invasions, and fights over the throne is sometimes called the Middle Kingdom and continued until 1380 BC, and Hittites unified again around the Prince Suppiluliuma, a difficult name to say. This epoch is called the New Kingdom or Imperial period, during which Hittites competed and challenged Egypt for the supremacy in the region. The Hittite king dominated the history of the Middle East during the 14th century BC, although the dates of his reign are in question. He was originally thought to have ascended the throne about 1380 and to have reigned for roughly 4 decades. During the early years of the reign of Suppiluliuma, consolidated the Hittite homeland and improving the defenses of Hattushash. The greatly extended of city walls was built, enclosing an area of more than 120 hectares. Then the Hittite Empire began to expand in southeast, and most of the North Syrian cities were submitted. In another campaign, an interesting affair took place when the Hittite army was encamped before Karkemish, near Gaziantep. A messenger arrived from the Queen of Egypt with a proposal that they should send one of his sons to become her husband. She was Queen Anexanemon, the widow of Tutankhamun, who was forced to marry someone she doesn't want. Suppiluliuma agreed to her request and sent her one of his sons, but he was murdered when he reached Egypt. However, the relations deteriorated under the new reign of a new pharaoh, Seti of Egypt, and began to recover and advanced as far as Kadesh. A war between these two superpowers of the time at Kadesh, which is located in today's Syria, is even today a popular subject of history. Kadesh was first seized by the Egyptian king Thutmose III in the 15th century BC. It remained an outpost of Egypt until it came under the Hittite rule in the mid-14th century BC. In 1275 BC, it was the scene of a battle between Ramses II and the Hittite king Muwatallis. Let's have a look at this battle. The Egyptian and the Hittite armies were pretty evenly matched, which is probably why both were able to claim victory. The Egyptian chariots, at arabaları yani, the Egyptian chariots were faster because they only had 2 people aboard them, while the Hittite chariots accommodated an extra person, allowing more spears to be thrown from each chariot. Bu at arabaları o zamanın savaş makineleri gibi bir şeymiş. The combination of chariots and iron tools, which were stronger than bronze ones, meant that the Egyptian and Hittite military technology was some of the most sophisticated of its time. Both civilizations boasted strong state power and the ability to send troops to war in order to fight for control over their empires. This war between the 2 most powerful states in the Middle East area has resulted in the first written international treaty known to us as Kadesh Treaty. Although this treaty was written originally in Akkadian language, copies in Hittite and Egyptian have been made. This first peace treaty, the Treaty of Kadesh, was an important document because it showed the ability of large civilizations to determine whether or not they were at war with each other. Okay, this is the end of our third lesson together, and I will continue the Hittites in our fourth lesson. Okay, I will see you there. Bye bye. See you.